For Thursday, October the 3rd, 2019 is officially open. Mr. David Buckles will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will lead us in prayer.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, God, we pause right now to say thank you. Thank you for this day and how you have kept us safe thus far. Thank you for allowing us, oh God, to assemble to conduct the affairs of this district. God, as we look at all of the options for our employees and making sure, God, that we give them the best benefits possible at a rate, God, that they can afford. God, help our hearts and our minds to be in the right place. Help us to be kind one to the other. But most especially, let us stay focused on the task at hand. Bless us, O God, and we'll be careful to give you praise, honor, and glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Okay, at this time, we do have public comments. We have two listed here. General comment on the subject of the insurance committee, Florida Blue, Mr. Andy Carroll. If you will come and state your name and give your address.
Good afternoon, Andy Carroll, 4800 Deerwood Parkway, or Deerwood Campus Parkway, Jacksonville, Florida, 32246. Madam Board Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, Mr. Superintendent. My name is Andy Carroll, and I'm here representing Florida Blue in my role as a strategic account executive for the public sector. I have been with Florida Blue for 20 years and serving the public sector for 12 of those 20 years, including serving Putnam Schools when you last were with Florida Blue. My goal today is to confirm how excited Florida Blue was for the opportunity to welcome the Putnam County School District back to Florida Blue and share with you a timeline of events that occurred throughout the most recent RFP process from our perspective. In partnership with my team who supports RFPs, we began requesting information and clarification on a multitude of items that were either missing, unclear, or appeared to have data integrity issues beginning in late August. That continued for over 2 weeks, at which point I issued another very detailed email to the listed RFP contact on September 10th, 2019. We received additional data from the district that same day that was still not complete, accurate, or addressing the major items that were needed to be included or answered to allow us to properly evaluate the risk. I received no response to my September 10th, 19th email, and on the advice of our internal counsel, our Vice President of Sales, Carlton Hobgood, sent a letter a week later via email on September 18th, as well as a UPS hard copy to the RFP contact and the Director of Purchasing for the district, reaffirming our desire and interest in responding to the RFP. However, we still had not received responses from the district that would allow us to do so. Unfortunately, that letter went unresponded to as well. Once the RFP officially closed on September 24th, I felt compelled to send an additional letter to the RFP contact both via email and UPS on September 27th to share our disappointment about not receiving the necessary data, and again, that it was our deepest desire to provide the employees of Putnam Schools the overall best proposal possible and be able to return stability to the benefits program. We can confidently state that because just within the last 3 months, 2 other large municipalities within Putnam County issued RFPs for their benefits, and in both cases, Florida Blue was ranked number 1, and in one of those RFPs, 2 of the main competitors did not even respond. I also stated in this letter that all of the items that had been requested were industry standard items for an RFP. In addition, I referenced the last time the district went to RFP for medical insurance, RFP number 5400-61603 for a January 1st, 2016 effective date, that all information within that RFP was complete, accurate, and matched to the penny. Board, the question I must ask today is why would this RFP data be so different and incomplete than the last RFP data, which was very complete? Please allow me to state for the record that had the information in this RFP that was requested been provided or clarified, Florida Blue would have absolutely responded, and we would have done everything that we could have to earn your business back. I appreciate the opportunity you have provided me this afternoon to share Florida Blue's perspective regarding this RFP, and hope that you now have a complete understanding of why we were not able to issue a response. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Wow. A lot of information.
I can clear some of that up if you want.
Okay.
I would prefer Mr. Dietzen to respond before
Sure.
we did much responding.
Yeah.
With respect to any communications between vendors and our point of contact, Ms. Tammy Collins, there was a deadline in the RFP for all questions and follow-up questions of September 5th, 2019 at 2 p.m. So if a package or an email or questions came in September 6th, 10th, 27th, it wasn't to be considered because other people responded and had sufficient information and asked all kinds of questions about our data. And there were numerous questions asked and answered about our data on our website. And so there was a specific deadline. So if we would choose to answer late for one and not others, and that person won, you probably would have a bid protest by someone who timely responded. So in an effort to be fair, we just said the deadlines are the deadlines for everyone. So for whatever reasons questions came in late, I was aware of that. And the response was, we have to follow what the board published to the world.
Can I ask a question? Andy, was there any questions asked prior to September 5th?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
in August. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. I don't know if this is for the insurance committee. Maybe one of you can answer this. Did any other carrier express concern about not getting accurate data to be able to make a bid? Thomas?
Actually, that's not quite true. May I approach?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
On the day that we actually opened up the responses from the carriers of the RFP, we did get a letter from a company called FBMC, if memory serves me correct. They had concerns about not having adequate information as well to adequately respond. It kind of stuck with me because this particular carrier helps districts become self-insured. And as I've gone around the state to different meetings with folks who serve in other districts as my counterpart or, the Finn group, it seems that the only districts who don't have rate hikes year after year after year are the districts that are self-insured. So I was disappointed that they said that they didn't have enough information to adequately respond as well, so.
Right. And the reason I asked this question is, I was stunned that we only had 2 bids.
Yeah, it was
There had to be
disappointing.
a reason why we only had 2 bids.
Well, that in conjunction with the obvious rate hikes that we're getting, once we settle in on, either carrier, whatever your decision is, it just seems that it's business as usual. And back to being self-insured, the only way to offset that is to continue to peck away at the insurance fund and having another MOU for more money.
Right.
And that will diminish our chances eventually of
Self-insured.
becoming self-insured.
Well, I'm concerned. I mean, we got at least 2 carriers that are expressing concern about the data that was provided.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is there an elaboration on that?
I don't even know what you said. I just wanted to make mention, Thomas mentioned FBMC. Aetna, which was one of the groups that we considered and ranked, they fell all over themselves saying how the process had plenty of time, questions were
Yeah, you said that yesterday.
answered promptly and everything. So, I mean, I'm not sure about the FBMC, but I guess it's perspective.
Yeah.
I think it's probably common to have concerns like this. I think we were all shocked yesterday, to say the least, that Blue Cross didn't submit a bid. And I think that, and others, but particularly Blue Cross, given their long history here. So, and you know, we wanted more competition, but that's why we went to Mr. Dietzen to advise us on this path. And I would sure, minus the normal board attorney, I would have to listen to his advice in order.
Mr. Dietzen, may I ask? And again, what was the deadline?
Questions, it was September 5th, 2019, 2 p.m. to only Tammy. There was one letter that was CC'd to Sandy, which again, you could argue that would be an issue too, but that was the deadline for everyone.
Ask in August.
But was the questions that you asked prior to the 5th, was that related to the data? And
And
did
all
you-
questions were answered.
Was the response adequate enough to do a bid? I mean, so the other letters, were they follow-ups to that original one?
I can comment further if you want on some of our data integrity concerns.
I would like,
Yes.
I
If
have
you
that
would.
question.
Could you also just review the timeline? You said the 24th of August.
That was when the RFP closed, yes, ma'am. So, I'm sorry, go ahead, yes, ma'am.
To clarify that, the RFP closed on the 24th of August, so your questions were sent prior to the 24th?
Our team began asking questions at the end of August, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
okay.
We did receive responses back that were either incomplete, the exact same thing, that is why we were asking the question to start off with, or still missing information. Critical to the RFP and any RFP for any group is what your actual rates are. Not the employee cost, what the actual billed rates are. That was nowhere to be found in the RFP, was requested multiple times. 10 months versus 12 months, that was requested, no confirmation.
Yes.
The claims report, one of the claims reports that was provided totaled $8.2 million and change. The corresponding report to that, basically the same claims, showing it by tier of how much the claims were. So they should total the same. There was a variance of $861,000 between those two reports, or close to 10% of your overall premium. So was the data provided in that? Was a claims report provided? Yes. That is one of our largest concerns with the data integrity. We also asked and were provided there was a large loss report provided on the website using a different time frame that the other reports were used. The paid dates and the service dates on that particular report, the way they were listed would make those claims experience actually impossible. What happened was, and what it appears to be, is the paid dates listed, which was prior to the service date. So what that means is, I had a claim paid last year, but I didn't have it happen until 2019. Another data integrity question. Also, those dates were actually highlighted. So I've been doing this for 20 years. I haven't seen a report system generated from any carrier that specifically had dates highlighted. So it does look like it was manipulated, leading a question to data integrity. I can continue. Do you, or okay. Updated census, there was multiple censuses, I don't know what's the proper one on that one. The most recent one that was provided, there was 19 different description codes of for your 3 plans. I would refer you back to your 2016 RFP and the census there, which included date of births, which we were told this time was not something that was available, and was very clear in 2016, this individual had this coverage in this plan. The most recent census had 19 different descriptions with no legend. It appeared that a provider disruption was being requested. It was vague in the RFP. It wasn't specifically asked, but it was referenced. Obviously, that's something that's standardly done in an RFP. We asked that multiple times, and if that was indeed the case, that we would need certain data elements to be able to provide that provider disruption. We did not receive that. That would not have been a pricing issue. That would be more to satisfy if that was indeed a request of something that we would have needed. So I'm going to stop there because that's what, there were other minor things, but those are hopefully examples of the data integrity issues that we saw as an organization. If I may remind you that we cover over 75% of the school boards in the state of Florida, and we cover every other major municipality in this county. We have a true desire to partner with you. We were disappointed, obviously, on these circumstances. Did that answer y'all's questions?
Yes, it did. Mine.
Yes, and the reason we kind of felt like there may be some contesting in this situation going into this process, and that's one reason we have Mr. Dietzen to advise us.
I'm real concerned. I just want to say this here in this today, that there are 2 separate carriers that have indicated through, did we receive a letter, Mr. Bowen, from the other one? And I don't know if we have that letter available, but evidently 2 data integrity issues. And I mean, I could see if it's one carrier, but we got 2 different carriers that are expressing concern about the entire integrity of this process. And I'll tell you, just having 2 bids only to vote on, I've got a major concern for our employees. And I'm gonna make a recommendation, and again, Mr. Attorney, you can weigh in on it, but I don't feel very confident in us making a vote today. I would offer the opportunity, and Ms. Odom could tell us the time frame, but I think we started this process early. I would offer the option of rebidding this and the current carrier providing the data, the necessary data so people can make an accurate bid. We're not trying to favor any carrier over anybody else, but I think if we walk out of here today and we choose a carrier when there's a cloud like this over this process, we are doing a major disservice to our employees. And I'm going to recommend very strongly that we do not vote on a carrier today, but we consider rebidding this entire process. And we can get an idea. I don't think we have to do it as long, but I would like to see a rebid, give everybody an equal chance, but we've got to have accurate data so these people can give us an accurate bid.
Okay, all right, and with that being stated, we will certainly take that under advisement. Yes, sir. But we do have another public comment.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we're talking
Is
about
it
now.
public comment?
Yes, he is.
I am, but
He
this is, I'm talking about, I wanted to talk about the current issue. Florida Benefits Management, they are not a carrier, they are a benefits group. So they're not a carrier. So Blue Cross was the only carrier that brought that contention up as far as the health insurance is concerned.
I think we kind of know that, Paul.
Well, maybe you do.
Okay.
Okay, but anyhow, but at any rate, I will make mention of the fact that it was offered, and I think it could have been a lot cleaner and the broker that we have had handled the RFPs to begin with, because there were some questions there were actually some questions during the RFP proceeding that the broker asked about and actually emailed Thomas about, and was quickly told to cone of silence. But at any rate, I just feel like that
The broker, United Healthcare broker?
our broker,
Oh,
our broker.
What
Yes.
happens in the committee should be kept confidential, and if any paperwork is put together, it's not to be distributed to, let's say I have a friend that in Jacksonville that runs an insurance agency. I don't slip them
Right.
the papers, it's a it's a code of silence or a cone of silence to ensure integrity in the process.
Fair.
But I will mention my concern here about a do-over, and prices and bids have already been out. So, I mean, you'll have Blue Cross this
wanna do
week.
what's the
You have Blue
very
Cross
best
this week, you
for
have
our
UHC next week. I mean, I'm just saying that you just need to be aware of that. I'm sure Mr. Dietzen is, so, at any rate.
I appreciate you saying that, Paul, but, as you
Hey,
knew
I'm just a
yesterday.
suggestion.
I know.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Well, let me go ahead and talk about that public comment while I'm.
Oh, okay, I
and-
thought that was it.
Well,
Okay,
no,
all
no,
right,
that was about that other issue. An issue that I had was stemmed from yesterday, and I thought I was going to be the one that brought up all the drama. But at any rate, there was some. Rhonda handed out some issues, and handed out some sheets with prices that could be for different plans and whatever. And one of them was taking out the cost of the Avail Group. And I don't know that probably should not have been handed out. And the reason I say that is that's something that would happen during the negotiation process. And when we negotiate with United Healthcare, and they might not be of a mind to let the Avail Group go because of the benefits to be derived from that. I will remind you that when UHC brought Mr. Albritton on in the Avail Group, that there was a 3% discount that was derived from that, besides paying for his services. Now, who's to say that there might be an upcharge if he goes away? And some folks, I think that we need to think about that. I mean, you just need to I think
Thank you.
that we probably should just disregard that sheet that was put out there, is what I'm trying to say. And there will be the negotiation process
He
that
gave
will
them
happen.
back, and I don't remember half of what
Yeah,
he
but I
said.
would like to state that our RFP did say to please provide the cost with or without those services, and that's why I was providing it to you.
Yeah,
With
okay.
or without those services.
All right, so you were
Not just
complying.
Avail, but a similar, whatever that insurance carrier had. So
Okay.
it's not that I was
Similar
trying to do,
service.
I wanted you to see what our RFP asked for.
Madam
with
Chair.
or without.
Okay.
I wanna
Could I
ask,
also just ask the board attorney if he could highlight some information he just made aware out of the RFP?
I wanna ask Ron.
Okay.
So with the super's recommendation, the paragraph 50 of the RFP states that the board reserves the right to reject all proposals, to waive any informalities, to negotiate with vendors, and to solicit and re-advertise for other proposals. So if you wanted to re-advertise, you could. You're just on a timeline
Right.
Yes.
issue because of the January deadline, but that's part of your rights, or you can if you want to.
But in all fairness, I think that, my heart goes with the superintendent on trying to find a way to do what's best for the employees. And I know we did this early in case there was any
Issue.
hitch in our giddy-up. And that's one of the reasons, but I kind of I'm disappointed that Florida Blue didn't participate to begin with, and now they kind of have a leg up because they can look at the rates that have been proposed, and of course I'd have to rely on Mr. Dietzen to advise us on how that's gonna turn out if we get even that we reserve the right to rebid, that the proposals are public, and now Florida Blue will be able to see what was bid, is that correct?
Well,
They're not.
They're not public yet, are they?
Well, no, if you don't award a bid, it
Nobody's seen
won't be,
them.
I don't believe.
Just
No.
the committees
Just the committee.
and us
Is that-
yesterday.
Give you any more ease?
I'd have to, this
my-
is live, so I'd have to check that answer. This doesn't happen
Well,
every day.
my ease would come from Leonard, and, you know, you go back and if you save $1 million and you lose $2 million in a counter suit, you know.
But he said, he just said.
I'm just, in a counter suit, I know what he said, and I think even he knows that wouldn't keep somebody from contesting it, but Leonard, that is why we sought your
Yes.
professional advice. So, board members, please ask him questions like I just did, so.
I have a question for Rhonda. Could you speak to the timeline? If we were to go out to bid again?
I'm gonna come up there, but I'm gonna have to reach out to a couple of people because even though we started the process early, here we are getting on closer. So I would need to reach out to Sandy and see how long does an RFP have to be out there? Does it have to be 30 days? Can it be a shorter time period? Because if it's out there 30 days, that would put us into November. Then the insurance committee would have to meet and look at things. We'd have to have these meetings that we have like this. Is open enrollment required for a full month? I know we've done it early November before. You have to have open enrollment to give everybody time to decide which plans they want to be on, new people coming on, people going off. And then Tammy has to get everything loaded into the system before the first payroll, January 15th. So I would really like to look at these two and see, sure, there's time to put out another RFP in 30 days, but what's it gonna?
does it have to be 30
If
days?
we change carriers, we may have a problem with the new carrier if we wait. Will they get their health insurance cards by January 1? How soon do the new carrier need the file in order to produce those cards?
Because you're the one that has to
Because
create the
you change
file.
carriers,
I'm sure they could do it.
I don't know.
So I'm just sort of reaching,
You got a file December 15th? Could you have new cards out by?
If I may, I would just refer you back to your last RFP. The timeline was in the month of November.
Yes,
It was tight.
it was tight.
Does it have to be 30 days?
That's your own process, but from my memory, I would just refer you back to your own RFP.
I don't remember when it was.
Because I know United Health,
November?
they worked
When
overtime
did she
to
have
first
open
start out.
enrollment?
Is the first couple.
And then the next
Days
year
in
we put the
November, I
dental,
believe.
so it wasn't both dental and, yes.
Right, Sandy said we were working on the last RFP the last week of October, and,
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was pretty tight, that last one.
well, you know, my office is always willing to do whatever we need to do, and if she needs extra help, we'll get it for her, because a lot of it will come
When's your
down to
last
Tammy
person?
Collins and everything. But,
She's retiring.
so it's doable.
Does anyone know that other entities in Putnam County, as such as the county employees of the county commission, did they have more than one or two bids for their insurance? Would you know, sir?
I do.
Do you know if they had more than just Blue Cross?
They have one other.
Which other?
It was the TPA using the Cigna network.
See, it's really not uncommon to just have a couple, but I think the reason we're having the cone of silence, and it's never been as enforced as I've seen it this go-round, is that the fear is that information leaks out to people that people know in the community, and it can be harmful out of a small committee when that occurs. It's not fair, and I heard some pretty substantial allegations of how this thing was maneuvered in the bid process, which concerns me. But knowing that we were knowing that we were under the gun and hiring an outside counsel, I think we went as far as we could, and it kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth that it did turn out like this. So, having said that, we'll hear whatever we got to hear, and I'll try to reserve my comments and let the majority of the board speak.
Okay, all right, and you've asked Rhonda for a timeline?
Yeah, and she just answered.
Just answered, okay, and stating that if we go out,
If you go
If
out,
we
it will be a
boogie.
tight timeline.
It will be
but
tight.
It could be
It
done.
could be done.
Checking with Sandy
But
what time we
but
did it
it's,
last time.
it's not an impossibility, should that be the case, but, we
Because it's
just,
been done before.
Can I share one of the issues that our employees expressed previously when we've done late enrollments? They have to decide whether to stay on district insurance or go with their spouse's insurance. And when they have to make decisions late for us, they bypass, they have to just, they can't decide, they can't make a decision one or the other. They have to either choose to go elsewhere or.
Hopefully it will be palatable enough to.
If we go, I think that'll be, we'll be way past that.
I just had a question, I guess, about the process of the bid for the carriers. Blue Cross said they didn't get the information in a timely manner. Could they voice that concern or that inquiry other than leaving it, not getting it addressed? Or, I mean, wasn't there is there another recourse they had and didn't choose to use?
By September 5th, that's the time to get all your questions in, which is what everyone else did.
I believe what you're asking, if I may,
Sure.
if they had the letter that was sent to me and sent to Tammy, that should have been in a question form sent to Tammy by the 5th of September, by that deadline time. This is our problem. You have not addressed this, and this, and that. And I don't believe Tammy received that by September 5th. I think I received mine September 18th somewhere, and it was like overnighted in that area.
It was September 10th.
Yes, September 10th, which was after the deadline.
okay, so even if it was dated, like they do at the IRS, if it's dated the 5th, I think was the date, if it was dated the 5th and just didn't
No, the
get there,
letter he sent.
was actually dated the
Right.
10th.
They sent an email that was secure. I had problems getting into it. I let them know, hey, I can't get into your email. And they told me it was on their end. So then they just sent a regular email. I answered their questions they had. The ones I didn't, I answered that weekend on the 6th and 7th and sent an email out to everyone whose questions I did not finish answering. By the 5th, I sent out an email that let them know what the questions were and told them to check the website because I was still getting data in and we were posting it on our website. Then they sent a new email on the 10th with special dates. They wanted the 17, 18, and 19 years. That was not mentioned in their prior email. So they came back with wanting more information
After the
after.
deadline,
Yes.
after the 5th.
And I got that emails. If y'all want to see them, I can pass it around and let you see their first email and then their second email.
They're going to legally contest anything. I mean, it doesn't, you can write it, but, I mean, we're going to have to make a decision. I mean, the superintendent obviously makes a recommendation, the board makes a decision. And Mr. Dietz's advice will be paramount in what we do and the options for the employees. So, that'll be how that kind of runs.
I just want to make mention of the bid process. The RFP was 30 days, if I'm not mistaken, or right around there. I guess there's fairness and then there's fairness. And I don't know, it seems like everybody made a good faith effort to do everything they could to get the information out. If problems arose, but I guess what I'm saying is, if we do a do-over, I mean, then there's the issue of being fair to the people that complied.
But I'm still concerned with the inaccuracy of the data that was provided by the broker. That kind of throws all the other stuff out the window
I
to
see
me.
people on the insurance committee feeling like that was maybe not the case, but,
Please say something, because we are relying on what you share with us to help us make a
They may not know what
decision.
was sent to them.
We didn't hear any issues about the data from Aetna.
They actually wrote a letter thanking us for the smoothness of the process, and they had plenty of time.
Fairly well, and they were able to do everything they needed to do because of the ease of the process for Aetna.
And we didn't have the benefit of a broker helping us because it's added to the RFP that we wouldn't have a broker involved in this because we were going out for bid for a broker. So we were depending on district staff who'd gone through the RFP process to do this, and then we got that information back to work with it. You know, we've been above board about everything with this. If somebody didn't receive data because they didn't ask for it in time, you wouldn't in your classroom let children who didn't do what they were supposed to do come in after the fact.
You wouldn't?
No.
Okay.
Not
Well,
when it's something that
there's some
important.
gray area where students are concerned.
Not when it's
But we're
something
not
that
talking about, we're talking about business.
I know, but she used that as an example, JD.
I'll use this as an example, so I can get here. All right, we're talking about business here. We're not talking about people, this is their first rodeo. Florida Blue makes billions of dollars a year, and you're right, they're gonna contest it regardless. We knew that, somebody's gonna contest it. We've been thanked for our efforts for what we did. The attorneys looked at it, the committee looked at it. If Florida Blue wanted to bid it, they'd have bid it. And y'all all know that. Deep down in your heart, that's what happened. They were gonna contest it regardless. No, if they want it bad, it's a business thing, Ms. Crawford, and you're saying you don't know.
I'm just-
No, what I'm saying is, we went out for bid. We were set this, you might get something you don't want if you go out for bid. And we did it for the good of our employees. And we got responses from those people that wanted to bid. And the ones that bid it thanked us for how smooth the process was. And now we're back on our heels because we're concerned that somebody's gonna be upset. They're gonna be upset if
I'm
they're-
concerned our employees are gonna be upset.
well, our employees are gonna be really upset if we go out for bid and the numbers that were this percent now, and we throw them away, if they're this percent now. We don't know what's gonna happen. We've already rolled the dice once. And so we've made and we made a condition. We made a recommendation. I know, I'm an employee, you know, all of us are looking out for our employees, but think though, our council said, this is correct. Y'all thought it was correct. We thought it was correct. We made a recommendation, and now we're going, let's roll the dice one more time. How many times are we gonna roll the dice is my concern, because it's really at the expense of our employees. Because I really don't think we're gonna hit a home run this late in the game. But that's just my 2 cents and what I've seen. And y'all been presented with information.
Well, I mean-
You know what it's gonna be. I mean, I just don't think we need to roll the dice again from the committee.
We're offering up 2 cents. I'd like to offer up mine one more time. Number one, I just don't see the rates getting any higher at this point, so I don't understand all of the passion about standing pat. The worst thing that can happen is the bids come back exactly the same as they were, and then we go with the deal that we currently have on the table. I don't see bids coming in higher at this particular point. And I thought the big idea with going out to bid was to get the best available rate for our employees to begin with. So, I mean, I'm looking at 20% hikes across the board. It kind of defeats the purpose. So, I mean, I'm a little bit less passionate about another 15, 20, 25, 30 days than they are. I don't mind doing the work again. It's why we're here.
I think we got a little off stray
We did.
from citizen input. This is supposed to be citizen input, not the committee input, unless you have a problem. So I think there needs to be dialogue
Sandy's got the
with
cards if there's
with the
not
board, and if someone has a citizen input.
Are there any more?
Okay,
public
I don't have any public comment other than the two we've had, and one was the insurance rep for Florida Blue, and the other
Well, so
was
that-
one of our insurance reps.
Oh, Thomas mentioned that the worst thing that can happen is we get a bid from them and they're higher. I think the worst thing that can happen is the people that bid previously pull their bid, and then we only have one bid remaining, so.
But we don't know.
Here's, well, here,
I mean, we don't, do we?
the other portion is, I mean, you know, we all know in our heart of hearts, we kind of expected this. And I think it would not be unexpected if this were to go back out to bid, that it would be challenged again in another forum. Leonard, I guess my question is, if the board were to make a motion and go with the committee's recommendation this year, and then next year, I mean, you could, would this be, could we go back out for bid next year if we weren't totally satisfied? Or is this a multi-year bid?
You would have to sign a 1-year
Bid, and they, yeah, I got you.
That's what the current RFP is, 1 year.
1 year? Well, yeah, and that's, you know, 'cause this is, I can see it coming right back around, and in the next meeting, a similar challenge. And if I were them, I would, and them being whoever was punched a little bit a while ago, I would probably do the same thing, but.
Madam Chair, if I can stress again, I respect Mr. Buckles' comments and everybody who spoke today, but I still feel like there's a cloud over this entire process, this original process, that there was a data integrity issue. And again, I want to stand behind my recommendation that we do not approve these two proposals today, that we go out to bid again and rebid this, and at least know that we have the integrity of the process, and that we have the opportunity to get more than 2 bids. And I think we owe that to our employees. There's a lot of uncertainty with that, I understand, but we've been on a tight timeline before, and I just want to see, especially in light of what we're looking at, we just gave our employees a 3% raise, and the worst thing we can do is have it taken back out again through insurance premiums. And if it comes back the same or whatever, we've given it our best shot.
Right.
So that's my recommendation, and I'll
Excuse me.
Well,
say
I
more
would
about
like
it.
to, in light of his recommend, did you want to say something first?
Well,
I was
what
gonna
I was
make a
gonna
motion.
do, that's what I was going to say. Hearing the superintendent's suggestion to the board, if someone would put that in the form of a motion, and then we'll see where the motion takes us before we
Okay.
vote.
And
If
like-
it doesn't
One more
get a
question- One more
second.
question for Leonard. We do this, what is the, I mean, prospects for damages, or we're still covered under law, we could make our own decision and go back out for bid like you said? There's no predict.
Correct. No one as of yet has any standing. Florida Blue did not bid, so they can't challenge because they don't have a bid.
They
And
can't.
maybe they could make something else up. The loser could, if someone won tonight, whoever won, the loser could say there was an irregularity
Right.
and challenge you.
I got you.
Doing nothing, you're allowed to do that under an RFP. You're allowed to do nothing. Doing nothing means you stay with your current carrier until someone else wins later down the road. So your current carrier wins until you answer the next RFP, if that's the direction the board would like to go.
My heartstrings want to follow the insurance committee's recommendation because of all they've put in it, and I would be hard pressed to not do that. I can't remember doing it before, and maybe I have once in my life. I can't remember, but I don't see, I see the value in Mr. Sorensen's philosophy, and that who doesn't want to do what's best for the employees? I just don't, I'm not convinced that this is going to be the best because it's turned out to be about like I thought it was going to turn out to be.
Mr. Dietzen, for clarification for myself, you said that if we decide right now to just remain with the carrier we have, and then down the road, explain that part to me.
In effect, you would be, you could do nothing and reject all proposals. That's your option. Accept the insurance committee. That's your next option. Go out to bid. If you reject all proposals, you could go out to bid. You don't have to go out to bid. You could stay where you're at if you don't go out to bid. Again, nothing changes if you don't go out to bid. And everybody, I think, relayed to you their opinions on what happens if you do go out to bid. That's not my job. That's
Right.
their job. And so it's do nothing, accept your insurance committee's bid, or do nothing and direct your team to go out to bid again, re-advertise, and do the whole process again.
Okay. Anyone else need clarification?
I'm just really.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
I'm really kind of frosted that Florida Blue didn't, as much as grief as I've heard in the last 4 or 5 years that they didn't pony up and get out there and get a bid in, just rips me apart. Superintendent pulls at my heartstrings with what he said, but we're gonna ask these same people to take time away from their families and their daily lives to come sit in a committee and do it again, and they don't have to. Yeah, you can find somebody else, but somebody else talk besides me.
I think my concern is I share with the superintendent, and I guess I shared that with him earlier about the inconsistency, but basically what we've learned about the data integrity. But I don't understand why we don't have the other two companies that are here for us to ask a question, because it's been reported by the board that there was no data issue reported at all, right? We're just hearing it from, we've heard it from several companies, but the two that did put the bid in, they didn't say there was a. Okay, so my question is, how are we going to be? Where's the good data? How are we getting this? Where do we go from there?
Could I see a stand-up poll from the board? The insurance committee members on who favors sticking with your recommendation? Just if
They
you
said it
didn't
was
mind.
unanimous yesterday.
It was unanimous?
Based on the carriers that we have.
I get you.
So, yeah, we're all.
We just process what is given to us.
Right.
You're right. I don't want to put
That's all you
something
got.
an
Yeah, I don't
unnecessary
wanna put them on
burden
the
on you guys. Ms. Pickens, you were on the committee.
Well, I heard Aetna, especially, I didn't really hear it from United Health, but I heard from the Aetna, they were really impressed with how the whole process went. I don't know if it's different data that Blue requested versus the other two. I don't know. I don't understand how something like that can happen. And I don't think it was negligence I know that Tammy and Ron, I know that they would have answered an email in a timely, I know that. And so I agree with Mr. Buckles. I'm very torn.
I have been publicly told off in public forums because the former vendor didn't get it, and now they get a chance and they don't bid, and they're going, it just puts really bad taste in my mouth. Although if I was a local business person, I would probably be doing whatever I could to try to get business, whether it's somebody in Daytona or St. Augustine or Jacksonville. I'm surprised we didn't get more bids. I don't know. What do I do? I'm not an insurance man. but I never had that big a problem with Florida Blue. I haven't had a great deal of, had to get used to United Healthcare, but, just find the right person to call. And it's gonna be up to a majority of you board members. Somebody's gonna have to make a motion, and then it'll either vote it up or down, and then we'll see what happens.
Can I just ask one more question? Tammy, did you get any emails from, I know that you got questions, but from a company other than Aetna, United Health, or Blue?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And were those questions, did they say anything about data?
No, all the data was posted on our website, so all the reports are out there on that website on the RFP questions. So everything was listed out there. If they requested it, I sent it directly to them, plus it was posted on the website.
I think we had, one company that said they had issues getting data integrity. The other company that said everything was wonderful, and then we had our current provider who had all the information anyway.
Right.
And didn't have to go to anything in the RFP. So you've got one, and one right now. If that makes sense.
Well, you got two, don't you? Don't you have FBMNC?
FBMC is not a carrier,
We know that.
but you keep talking about their issues.
But they had questions.
They have other questions than actual data questions.
Sandy does actually have
We should
somebody
probably read
asked
that
for
letter
a
so you
copy of
understand
the
what their
letter,
complaints were.
which
Well,
our copies are in the vault. but,
I don't need to read that.
Somebody wanted the FBMC letter, and there. I'll
We
give
saw
that back
some
to
rates
Sandy, 'cause
passed
she was
around
able to keep a
yesterday.
copy
I'm
of
just
everything.
concerned some were probably photographed and taken on. I don't know.
Who would have photographed?
I don't know. Somebody that might have wanted to get it to another outfit. Who knows? That's why.
Are
that's
you
why-
saying somebody?
Well, I'm saying about what the attorney said, it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth when you feel like somebody didn't do something appropriately. I'm just saying it just looks like sour grapes, and the cone of silence, I think, has made a big difference on business practices we've had in the past that probably were a little too flimsy, but I'm waiting on somebody to make a motion.
I just want to say something before we
I
make a
like
motion or
them all.
whatever. I know the work y'all put into this, and I understand where you're coming from. I honestly do. And y'all understand big business. Y'all understand that, but I'm just a big old school teacher. And, I don't necessarily understand all the ins and outs of the business part of this. But what I understand is that 6 of my best friends work for this school system, and they can't afford to pay for insurance to cover their families. They can cover themselves, but they have to go somewhere else to get insurance to cover their children or their husband. And I just don't feel like I'm doing my job as a school board member, putting aside who followed the deadline and who didn't. And I know that's important, Tammy. I know that's important. If we don't try our very best and say we've done everything we possibly can to get the best possible rates.
Yeah, I think we did, and I've
And
got
in light of that, I would like to, in light of that and the superintendent's recommendation, I would like to make a motion that we go out, that we do not accept these 2 bids at this time and go out to bid again.
You're gonna need a second for discussion.
I understand that.
I'm not seconding it. It's up to y'all.
I may not get one. So there's no second.
It's been motioned by Mrs. Crawford that we should not accept the 2 bids that were presented by the insurance committee, and we are waiting for a second.
I will second it for discussion. And the reason I'm saying that is I listened to her talk about her friends. I've got a child who's a teacher in this school system who goes out for insurance. That doesn't mean if I stick with one of the two bids, I'm not doing what's best for people in this school system. Well, you know, I'm not gonna cry.
I didn't cry.
I know.
It's not about us personally.
What I'm saying
We-
is, it's not. It's about the employees. It's about, I'm not trying to yell at you.
Well, you were.
It makes my heart beat fast when I'm still a little angry at Blue Cross.
Well, don't take it out on me.
I'm not. But anyway, I just feel like that I'm torn. I really, I get where Rick's coming from. I'm upset where he is, and I know it doesn't matter. These folks go back and they report back to their faculties, and they report to them, and every faculty rep will tell them where we've been, what we've done. They know where we are, but I'll have to wait and hear any other dialogue or see who cast a vote, and then before I give mine. But that's it. You got a motion and a second.
Any more discussion?
You know, one thing that was obvious yesterday is that they were relatively close. So for us to make an assumption that another carrier, maybe 4 or 5, but comes in that much lower is, that's it's throwing the dice.
Yeah, we don't know. You're right, we don't know, but they could.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay?
I just need a clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is totally within our right to, and the motion is that we don't accept either and we go out to bid again.
I think that's the motion that
And that
Mrs.
is
Crawford made.
perfectly within our legal rights.
Mr. Dietzen has agreed that it is. Okay. All right, if all questions have been addressed, we will now have our vote. And this is where we have to vote our hearts, where it is not personal, but yet it is to the point where we are concerned about the employee, as all of us have stated, and we are certainly appreciative of our insurance committee, of what they have done, because they too are our employees. So at this time, all in favor of going back out for bid, rejecting the 2 that were given, let it be known by aye.
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 Aye. All right. Motion carries, all opposed, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 4-1.
Is there anything else?
Please tell Blue Cross that next time they ever get a chance to bid, and don't put us back through this stuff again. Leonard, I
It
probably
is-
did
it
bad telling him
is-
that, didn't I? Yeah.
It is not the easiest decision ever, because
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
our concern
We can
is
save-
about the employees.
So one of us needs to make the motion?
No.
to adjourn?
Okay.
That's what he said.
She'll adjourn the meeting when she
Oh, she
searches
adjourns.
Mr. Dees.
Okay,
I thought it was different.
meeting is adjourned.